Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices is made possible in part by Allstate and the Searle Funds at the Chicago Community Trust.
Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Michael Puente, reporter with WBEZ Chicago. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us on the show tonight. A public health order restricting migrants from entering the U.S. is set to end next month, what it could mean for asylum seekers and the growing crisis at the border. A push to encourage Latinos to donate organs, how one Chicago doctor is leading the effort as we mark Donate Life Month. A film festival dedicated to Latin culture and stories, we talked to the founder about what to expect. A mural with a message, the inspiration behind this 15-foot high mural in Wicker Park.
We're comedians, first and foremost, but we have a respect for mariachi. It's a very serious art form.
And Mariachi Meets Improv, a group of comedians is bringing a taste of Latin culture to their comedy routine. First off tonight, restrictions at the U.S. border put in place as part of coronavirus measures are set to end May 23rd. Title 42 was issued in March of 2020 as a public health order to expel migrants due to coronavirus concerns. The CDC decided this month that the order is no longer needed. Once it's lifted, more migrants are expected to enter the U.S. as well as head for the border in hopes of seeking asylum. Joining us now with more are Oscar Chacon, Executive Director of Alianza Americas, Ronnie Lucero, National Chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, and Daisy Funes, Executive Director of Centro Romero. First, I want to get everyone's reaction to Title 42 being lifted at the end of May and what do you think about the policy change. Oscar, let's start off with you.
Well, I believe it's a very long delayed decision. I mean, if you take into account that the now president used to be very critical of the former president having used Title 42, it's taking him 16 months to actually get to that decision. And I want to emphasize that the evidence, at least from the CDC itself, did not really back up, the usage of Title 42 in this particular instance, because there was no evidence that the people arriving to the U.S. southern border really represented a risk from the point of view of the pandemic.
Ronnie, what do you think about this policy change?
So I think it's a little premature to be removing Title 42 at this point. I want to remind everybody that's watching this that we still are in the current stage of a pandemic, and I understand that the government is now moving it to the endemic stage, but we still have a high amount of COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. It's very important. The other part that I want to point out with Title 42 is that the problems that we have right now with inflation and the lack of goods that we have to supply the American people, continuously allowing additional tens of thousands of people into the U.S. while we are experiencing this problem is going to put more strain on the American economy and the American people.
Daisy, what are your thoughts as this policy is about to change?
I think as an institution that we provide service to our community, we don't see immigrants south of the border as any threat by any means. And I think it was used before as a way to discriminate, stop them, because a lot of the immigrants that are coming, there is an exodus because of what's going on in their home countries. I just wish that our immigrants south of the border will be treated as Ukrainians have been.
Mm-hmm. Oscar, Title 42 may be lifted, but how does that impact asylum seekers? Does it increase their chances of actually entering in the U.S.?
I'm afraid not. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, the flows of immigrants, especially from Mexico, which is something that most news outlets do not cover. Most of the people trying to get into the U.S. the last couple of years are actually from Mexico. But the majority of them are people who, frankly, have been an incredibly beneficial factor for U.S. economics, for U.S. culture, for U.S. Job market. Frankly, tell me if you can walk anywhere in the U.S. today and not see signs saying help wanted. And the bottom line is we don't get enough of those people, but their asylum chances in the U.S. given how toxic the environment has become, I do not believe that lifting Title 42 will automatically translate into more people being granted a way to stay in the U.S. And I don't believe that it will necessarily have a significantly important role in whether there will be more or fewer people. The fact is, we still need to address the fundamental question, and that is, why are these people coming? I mean, their countries are broken, and that is the reason why those people are trying to get into the U.S., which is the only place they can possibly go if they are trying to find a better way of life that is more democratic. After all, this is supposed to be the land of opportunity.
We just saw the video of the big migrant camps along the border. Daisy, Senator Romero provides services to help migrants get settled and adjusted. With this anticipation of more migrants entering the U.S., how can your organization and others like yours respond?
Well, I think we have to respond to the need of the immigrants. Doesn't matter who they are, if they're from Central America, South America, or Mexico. So the idea for us is to have our door opens and make sure that they are educated about the legal benefits if they do qualify for anything. So people sometimes assume just because you cross the border, now you have everything. But that's not how it works. This is a huge funnel. Immigration is not very benevolent, and we know that the policies are broken. So we need to fix that and make a permanent decision how do we can take them to the path of citizenship. For example, DACAs, TPS. There's 3 countries that just applied. They've been reassigned as a TPS. Of course, we're going to be available and provide services to educate them and make the process of immigration and fill out all of those forms. But at the same token, they come and they need more services just besides that.
Ronnie, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is sending migrants by bus to D.C. saying he's fed up with the administration and its handling of immigration. What do you think of this move?
I actually applaud this efforts, and let me tell you why. Is the federal government and the lawmakers in D.C. continue to make laws or restrict us from creating laws that actually secure the border in our country. So what's happening at this point is they're getting released into the cities that are on the border cities. And I live in a border state. I live in New Mexico. So New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona have a large influx of immigrants coming in through the border. So I think what this does is plays a big card into Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis' hands, because this actually gives the legislators and lawmakers in D.C. a taste of their own medicine. You know, at one point or another, we have to say that we all have to agree that there has to be some sort of form when it comes to immigration. And we have to find a way that makes the process easier, smoother, and faster for the people that we vet that are going to bring a beneficial benefit to the country and that want to do better for themselves. So I do applaud what Greg Abbott has done, and I think he did it the right way. And at one point or another, like I said, you have to show the federal government what it's like and what they're doing to the people on these border states.
Oscar, what do you think about how politics are playing into immigration policy and the Biden administration's handling of the border?
I think that the way we've been handling immigration for most of the past 40 years do not reflect at all, you know, what the evidence tells us, as I said before, regarding the actual impact of immigrants and immigration to the U.S. Let's face it, immigrants and immigration are a profound blessing for the country. I mean, the only reason why we are not, like so many other countries in Europe, already facing negative population growth realities is because, in large part, to immigration. But again, I mean, you can look at the economic impact, you know, the tax collection impact, the cultural impact of these populations, and it is a blessing. Now, why then do we have the kind of policies we do? It is because we have decided, sadly, as a nation, that we give more priority to an ideological premise, and that is that immigrants coming from Mexico, Central American countries, the Caribbean, and other nations are simply undesirable and are bad. And I cannot help it but find an enormous contradiction between all we are saying now regarding the protection that Ukrainians indeed deserve, but unable to do exactly the same for other nationalities that also deserve the same kind of support.
All right. Well, we'll have to leave it there. Our thanks to Oscar Chacon, Ronnie Lucero, and Daisy Funes for being here on Latino Voices.
Thank you for having us.
April is National Donate Life Month to raise awareness about organ donation. More than 106,000 people are on the national transplant waiting list. About 20% are Latino. But when it comes to donating organs, Latino made up 14.6% of all organ donors in 2020. Dr. Juan Casiado, who heads Northwestern Medicine's Hispanic Transplant program, says it's important to have culturally appropriate programs to increase and encourage organ donation within the Latino community.
There is the perception that Hispanics, as well minorities, don't donate organs, that they have lower donation rate. That is the perception. But the reality is, as soon as they understand the issue, and as soon as you provide education to this community, they are willing to donate organs and save the life of their loved one or somebody else. I think the low donation rate in the nation is due to a lack of adequate approach to this community. What we need to change is the approach, patients and the family and the loved ones. Mm-hmm. And when we recognize that, we can have different outcomes. And that is what we have demonstrated here at Northwestern, and now we're trying to implement in other centers. We're trying to help others to implement the same thing. And we have to be culturally and linguistically competent and congruent. That means that it's not only about to understand or speak a language or a culture, but also you have people in your team that share the same language or culture with your patient. That is going to make easier the process. The trust is built easily.
Dr. Casiado says Northwestern's Hispanic transplant program has seen a 74% increase of living kidney transplant donors. The program has bilingual healthcare providers to serve Spanish-speaking patients in need of a transplant. They also make an effort to involve a patient's entire family in decision-making, recognizing the importance of family for the Latino community. Up next, a preview of the Chicago Latino Film Festival kicking off next week. Latin culture and stories will take over the big screen at the 38th Annual Chicago Latino Film Festival. It kicks off this Thursday, April 21st. 50 feature films and 36 short films will be showcased at both in-person and virtual screenings. Joining us now with more is Pepe Vargas, Executive Director of the International Latino Cultural Center, Chicago, and founder of the festival. Pepe, welcome to Latino Voices.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation and to come and share this big news.
Absolutely. Well, Pepe, tell us about the film festival and what can people expect?
I mean, people expect what we have been saying, the very best we can do, because every festival has to be better than the one before. Not because it was bad, it was sloppy, it was misorganized. No, it was good, but then we call progress, really competing against ourselves. How can we undo and be better? And so people are expecting the very best we can do. We spend a lot of time in selecting the films, in making sure that every one of our countries is represented. So that, and they trust that we are doing a good job. And that's what we are committed to, make sure that we awaken their appetite for consumption of this type of stories. Film from every one of our countries, comedy, drama, thrillers, documentaries, animations, you name it, we have it. And every year it gets better. I mean, we get a great quantity of films. And we put the emphasis on first-time directors as well as films made by women, try to address the stories of every sector of our community, the LGBTQ, and also the indigenous people, the Black Latinos, We have blacks everywhere. So, and there are films that address those subjects with wonderful stories that we think they must be shared, and that is what we do.
Well, Pepe, you founded this festival 38 years ago. Why did you want to start a film festival showcasing Latino stories?
We had to change the narrative. We had to change the way the community is perceived. We are perceived as people who work, do these menial jobs or whatever they paid us, and sometimes not even paying. A lot of stereotypes, looking up, down at the community, and knowing who we are, because I've been around. I had traveled, I had gone to school. I see what reality is and how it plays out in the real world. Now, how can we fight back? And I discovered the power of film will allow us to do so, and showing really who we are, using the talent and the creativity of people who make these films. So we change that view, that perception, and stereotypes are getting away, and people are getting away with the way we treat us, and then we have to respond to that. It's a fight, peaceful, enriching lives, people, and lifting not only the community, but all of those who discriminate us, and creating a different environment in which we can communicate and look at each other's eye level rather than up down, which is basically discrimination. So here we are, this is who we are, this is what we have, this is what we offer. And people who see these films, they get it really big time. They embrace this, they come back, and they have become sort of regular. That's why we are here, because the audience keep growing, and the attendance is both Latinos and non-Latinos. Films are shown with English subtitles.
That's right. Well, Pepe, we only got about a minute left. How has this film festival grown over the past 4 decades?
I guess the need, and that is a beautiful thing, that I am working with something that is needed. The demand might not be huge in comparison to Hollywood films, but it's big enough that justifies the effort. And besides, out of the film festival, we have created the Latino classical music. We do films in the park. We do a lot of theater, music, popular, folk music, classical. So we don't stop. And that is thanks to the film festival that have given us the opportunity. And we have seen the opportunity. People really wanted to enjoy what we do beyond the culinary arts. They can feed themselves with good food from Mexico, Argentina, Peru, Spain, from everywhere. And that is who we are here for, to really feed their appetite, their stomachs and their brains and their souls, and really make a different and better society.
And our thanks to Pepe Vargas. Films will be shown at Chi-Town Movies Drive-In, Landmark Century Center, and virtually. We have more information on the festival and how to find screenings on our website, WTTW.com/news. Up next, how a group of comedians are mixing improv with mariachi. Mariachi meets. In this next story, a group of local comedians is bringing a taste of Latin culture to their comedy routine. In what is often a white-dominated space, the comedians hope their acts add some variety and relatability. Los Improviachis.
What is your name, señorita? Emily.
Are you from here? Or are you visiting? We're visiting.
From where?
Wisconsin.
Ah!
The members of Los Improviachis will be the first to tell you they're not traditional mariachis.
We're comedians, first and foremost, but we have a respect for mariachi. It's a very serious art form.
Emily is so beautiful. She is worth it more, just a peso.
It's paying homage to things that come from mariachi or Mexican culture, but ultimately we throw it on its head.
Oh, that's because if I was a chair, even if she's married, I dip in her queso.
They'll also admit they're not particularly good musicians.
People are probably expecting these guys have sombreros, they have the attire, these guys are gonna sound great. And then I get on my horn and then it's a B flat all the way.
You know you look so good. You know you look so fine.
But for their brand of improv comedy, it's all part of the plan.
Improvising the music provides an opportunity, that lower level barrier to entry where you can just go for it and have a good time.
Nelson Velasquez started Los Improviachis 10 years ago with Megan Powell. Steven Sanabria joined the crew in 2015.
It was born out of South Station Theater Company, which is the longest running sketch comedy Latino theater company in Chicago. And I wanted to put together a show that not only celebrated Mexican culture and Latino culture, but also had just a ton of fun with it. We got our,
Vicks Vapor
Rub jokes.
Your 7-Up, Sprite, Pepsi, our sexual appetite, being the Latin lover, stuff like that.
We may do a verse of El Rey, and we may pay homage by doing the traditional Spanish verse of it. And then the second verse is completely in English and improvised right on the spot based on what they're given, right? Like, we're kind of ambassadors. We're the intro to the intro class that you would take at a community college on Latino culture.
They say their act adds variety and relatability to what is often a white-dominated space.
There's not a lot of Spanish improv or comedy that, especially on the north side of Chicago, that you're gonna see, right?
If you go to different stages across the city, I'm sure you're not going to see a lot of our faces, right? And not saying that I'm going to be the next Stephen Colbert or whatever, but
it will be Stefan Colbert.
Exactly. Or Don Francisco, I don't know, whatever, right? So we just, that's what we bring. We bring a little understanding of the culture and how that is and how that plays a part in not only comedy, but everyday life, Yeah.
But like any other comedy show, they say their primary mission is to make them laugh, even when the results can be unpredictable.
Yeah, there's a bit of reading the room, especially in the situations like, oh, are you two together? Oh, you're not. That there might be something that if Nelson asked that question that he noticed, body language or how they're seated.
We've been doing it for 10 years. We've had people, we've had some people make some love connections. It's like, hey, so yeah, we probably ruin a few marriages here and there. But hey, that's collateral damage when you're doing comedy. That's the way we look at it.
Win some, lose some,
Yeah.
What can you do?
We are Los Improviachis.
For Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, this is Erica Gunderson.
For more on Los Improviachis and when you can catch a performance, visit our website. Chicago may be coming to life thanks to the spring weather, but the recent explosion of public art has also brought some color and life to the city. One local muralist is hoping his 15-foot high mural in Wicker Park inspires people to find hope. It's called the Butterfly Effect.
I'm Nico Locander. I also go by Ali6. This is the Butterfly Effect. I've always been into art since I was 5 years old. Always created illustrations. And then when I was in high school, I started doing graffiti. And then through that, I got into trouble a couple of times and I decided this isn't how I wanted my life to go. Growing up in Humboldt Park and being Puerto Rican, the culture of that area is very expressive. So I was able to see a lot of that art around the area. And going to the Humboldt Park Boathouse after school, they had art classes there and they taught me different ways to express myself through that. The skills I've learned through graffiti, which spray painting and color theory, combined them both and came up with the raccoon creature. His name is Richie the Raccoon. A raccoon kind of embodied everything I was into as far as like the urban kind of character. A raccoon is in the city a lot. They kind of travel at night, just like in graffiti, you kind of go and do your business at night. I've definitely been able to express myself through him, like everything that I'm interested in, everything I love from basketball, skateboarding, art. I portrayed through him. The message is the day is darkest before dawn. That's why the background is a really bright red that captures the viewer's eye from the street. So butterfly effect being a lot of people, they look at a negative thing that happens in their life and it really gets down on them. But if you kind of look at it in a positive way, things do happen for a reason. And even though the outcome right now is bad, you know, it might bring something forth that's better in life.
The Butterfly Effect was commissioned by the Wicker Park Chamber of Commerce. You can find the mural along the Blue Line tracks at Milwaukee and Wolcott Avenues. And that's our show for this week. And be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News, including details on the city's Universal Basic Income Program. And if you're watching us on Saturday night, know that you can also catch Latino Voices and Black Voices on Sundays beginning at 10 p.m. And don't forget, you can catch my reporting on 91.5 FM WBEZ. Next week on Latino Voices, Marisa Parra with CBS 2 Chicago will be here in the host chair. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, I'm Michael Puente. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy, stay safe. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that's proud to serve its community through pro bono legal services.